Missouri, just like all other states in the Union, is faced with numerous problematic concepts pertaining to addressing the concerns of social inequity. In both its modern and historical state, this process involves an adequate acknowledgement of a range of topics pertaining to various concepts and ideals. In this mapping, we focus on items such as population and demographics, economic disparity, the rights to an adequate education, affordable health care, and a comparison of comprehensive inequity information across different local counties. From these mappings, we found several contradictions, such as areas with increased levels of higher education, such as St. Louis, also having higher unemployment rates. Other comparisons include lower income areas being linked directly to having less access to hospitals, a large disparity of regions where healthcare is inaccessible within a 30-minute driving radius, and economically distressed areas having significantly less educational opportunities. This investigation intended to address not only the intersection of these concerns, but also how the proposals catalyzed within the Green New Deal might be capable of procuring a future for the state of Missouri that is both fair and universally equitable.
The unaware culture, historic indigenous cultural legacies of Missouri that could be promoted and assist in boosting the innovation of industry in Missouri. There are 6 indigenous tribes that used to live in Missouri whom have left hundreds of historic sites across the state. However, their population in Missouri today are largely reduced in comparison to what they were at their historic heights. While these nations reduce in size, European immigrants, namely German-Irish, arose to become the ethnic group with the largest influence within the modern era. At the same time, slavery and the culture of enslaved peoples also become a critical component to Missouri's cultural history, as many slaves traveled through Missouri attempting to cross the line of the Missouri Compromise in the search for freedom. All majority of these historic remnants, as well as other tourism spots throughout the state, are able to be identified and visited either virtually or in person through modern mapping data. Interestingly, however, indigenous remnants comprise a very small amount of these modern cultural resources, as most appear to be so inconspicuous that most people, even native to the state, are unaware of their existence. How can we generate a more aware culture for the future of Missouri? This mapping indicates that innovation is gradually becoming a new, iconic cultural symbol of the state. To develop a better Missouri, we should strive to embed our culture within the remaining experiences and sustainable practices from the past to assist in innovating our future industry. Innovation can be used as a tool to transform the forgotten culture to an aware culture, and the historic practices can be insightful resources for how we might further develop innovation and sustainable practices.
Missouri is located in the Midwest region of the United States. The majority of the state is located within the USDA Plant Hardness Zone 6, which means it experiences a mild tropical weather climate. This condition allows for Missouri to support multiple environments for different agricultural crops and plants. And with its abundant water resources, dominated by the Missouri and Mississippi rivers, has resulted in a historically strong agricultural presence. However, how can we achieve a more regenerative agriculture for future Missouri? Our mappings on the topic mainly focus on the problems currently facing the traditional practice of agriculture, as well as multiple opportunities which could be capitalized upon within the state. Through the comparative analysis of soil, forest fragmentation, and the shifting of plant hardness zone due to global warming, we have uncovered 4 potential solutions towards how we might support a more regenerative agriculture future for Missouri. These 4 opportunities include expansions within wetland agriculture, permaculture, agroforestry, and agroecology. And the system diagram is illustrative of the negative impact that traditional means of agricultural production can have on Missouri's ecological environment. While concerning, this example provides an opportunity to think about how a more regenerative means of agricultural production could provide a more positive impact to state's ecological condition.
The topic of this analysis is to investigate ways in which we might be able to improve the ecological resilience of Missouri by restoring damaged biodiversity, in maintaining existing biodiversity. The existing habitats of Missouri are severely fragmented and polluted, which has caused some species to become severely threatened. Agriculture, transportation, urbanization, the artificial control of rivers, and mining are all aspects which have and will continue to affect the environment to varying degrees. Each of these factors have introduced serious levels of pollution to the surrounding water bodies, and as floods continuously expand in range and severity, so too will the range of these pollutants. Because of this, the survival of many aquatic organisms has been severely threatened or even endangered, which, if left to continue, will have an irreversible impact on the food chain of the entire region. Throughout the course of mapping, we've been able to recognize the possibilities of restoring Missouri's floodplains and wetlands to save the state's biodiversity. One strategy would be the conversion of cropland to be used as a source of relief for floods, as well as for connecting fragmented habitats for both aquatic animals and plants. At the same time, it is also necessary to recognize the factors influencing urban biodiversity. The use of urban debris space and the continued introduction of hardscape infrastructure needs to be reconsidered with the possibility of transforming these elements into green infrastructure. If implemented statewide, these measures have the opportunity to further protect biodiversity and thus enhance Missouri's ecological resilience.
Railways, highways, pipelines, aviation, and shipping constitute a large portion of the modern freight system and are critical to the process of trade. The primary means of trade currently occurring between Missouri and international partners is mainly comprised of rail, road, and shipping. Prior to the 20th century, Missouri's rapid economic development benefited from both shipping and rail transportation. In time, road transportation became the most utilized means of trade throughout the 20th century, and with it came about 15% of the United States' total greenhouse gas emissions. These staggering numbers then beg the question towards how can we possibly make the transportation system better serve the economy while simultaneously reducing the greenhouse gas effect and making communication between people easier. One answer may be found in exploration in the new modes of transportation, for example, the proposal for Tesla's Hyperloop, whose proposal suggests a route crossing the state of Missouri. This suggestion has received a lot of social attention. However, this proposal is not the only hope for transportation reform that Missouri has. After years of technological development, systems such as maglev train and high-speed train has played a major role in the successful development of transportation networks within the nations of China and Japan, where long-distance public transportation has become the core of intercity travel. The search to discuss a novel form of sustainable transportation is a core tenet of the new Green New Deal. By applying this potential with the Missouri region, we have the opportunity to transform our transportation system to a point where it will clearly reflect the meaning and goals of becoming a better connected.
Due to its centralized location in the United States, Missouri has developed into a unique distribution hub, which has allowed it the opportunity to develop its economy significantly based upon the measure of its input and output of raw materials. Through the analysis of the GND policy, this mapping attempts to identify Missouri's current economic status, as well as the factors which can be further improved upon. Through this development, we were able to find that economic development of the state is primarily dependent upon the areas surrounding St. Louis and Kansas City, which are areas we have called economic belts. In other areas of the state, due to the discrepancy of an uneven workforce and career opportunities, these regions have developed into what we have denoted as economic deserts. Based upon the existing resources found within the economic deserts, we suggest the promotion of multi-industry linkages between resources such as natural springs and aquifers, large-scale farmland occupation, and recycling to develop these regions which have the opportunity to become economic belts. These suggestions are all promoted to support the opportunity for the state to develop a trend of overall health economic development in the hopes that it can achieve a state of economic stability.
Historically, Missouri has relied upon coal-powered energy. Currently, the primary renewable electricity generation resource which can be found in Missouri, consist of both wind generation and hydroelectric power. This first map shows the relationship between pollution intensity and power capacity of traditional power plants. It focuses on the comparison between different coal power plants, both existing and retired, and their levels of carbon dioxide emission and capacity. With these considerations in mind, it is relevant to note that Ameren, Missouri has committed to implementing a clean power plan which will attempt to achieve net zero carbon emissions by 2050. This second map shows the potential and power capacity of those renewable energy resources. We can see that the northwest portion of Missouri has the most wind power potential and the southwest area has the most solar power potential. Other renewable strategies such as biomass and landfill gas, while producing significantly less energy capacity, could still support small-scale energy use in the future with the implementation of technological innovation. The case study for this analysis, Overlapped City, proposes the morphology of resilient post-fossil fuel cities in 3 scales: redefining urban boundaries and urban clusters, energy infrastructure framework in a new set of urban codes, and generating spatial synergies between energy and other urban parameters. Based upon this analysis, the future of energy in the state of Missouri needs to focus on repairing and upgrading the state's existing infrastructure and investing in the potential of renewable energy resources.